We are at Children's Nebraska with Benny. We're at the Fontan Clinic, which, alright, sit down, which is a cardiology clinic for kids who it's been 5+ years since their Fontan heart surgery.
What's really remarkable is that there are 2 children in this family with basically the same diagnosis, which is a variant of Hypoplastic Left Heart Syndrome. And Ben was born first, and he had the full-on Hypoplastic Left Heart Syndrome, which means that he has 1 pumping chamber.
Callaghan was different because when he was born, his left ventricle was a little bit bigger.
I've actually surveyed my colleagues around the country to see if anybody has a family where there are 2 hypoplasts, and nobody that I've come across has seen that. So this is an exceedingly unusual circumstance to have siblings who have nearly identical single ventricle physiology.
When you are finding out that something life-threatening is wrong with your child, you don't really, or at least I don't really hear anything else because you just go into survival mode. It never gets easier. I have sent my children back for 7 open heart surgeries. 1 was rushed back in an emergency, so we count that as 8. And it never, ever, ever gets easier. And sometimes I think people might be under the impression that we're so strong and, this is just our life, so it's no problem, and not realize the terror and the trauma that comes along with handing your child over.
Yeah, it's a lot to know that your brother's going under and there's a possibility, but the fact that, there's 2 of them, and that's also, you've got double the worry and double that pain for them.
It's really hard to go to school, when Cal's surgery was happening, last December.
I had to pull out of school that day because I couldn't function.
It was really hard to focus on anything.
Knowing the staff and having complete trust in them, that is the game changer. Having those relationships and the way that everyone at Children's treats you like your family, and knowing that they're taking care of your child is a huge comfort.
I adore this family. I think that for everything that they've experienced and the journeys that they've gone through, they have managed to approach things with a big heart and a lot of joy still. And I think that they try to find the best in each of their kids. And I think that they've taken things in stride and they've been really resilient.
Pediatric cardiac surgery is actually a pretty new discipline. And so children that were born 35 and 40 years ago had very different prognosis than children who are born today. And that's thanks to research, studying the outcomes, being careful and attentive case by case.
Ben asked me this year if we could plant an apple tree in the front yard. And I jokingly said, well, we won't have apples until you have kids. And he said, that's okay. I want to plant a tree and then I want to bring my kids back to pick apples from the front yard. So now we have to plant an apple tree in the front yard because that sounds like heaven. My boys and their kids pulling up and climbing up in an apple tree and picking apples. Having a child or 2 with HLHS really puts life into perspective. I know that we're really, really fortunate. If my boys had been born to my mother instead of me, they probably wouldn't be here. Because of the funding and the awareness and the research that has gone into heart conditions, I'm very hopeful and excited for what the next generation gets to see.